Most people think issue tracking is going away, especially after posts from companies like Linear saying it was built for a different era. But what if the opposite is actually true? What if issue tracking becomes more important the better coding agents get, not less? Because after building DevNitro and actually working this way every day, I found something surprising. The real shift is not removing issues, it's turning them into the center of how work actually happens. And once you see it, it's hard to go back. As developers, I think a lot of us had the same experience with issue tracking tools. You had your work in something like Jira or Linear or whatever your team used. But then you had everything else somewhere else. A OneNote doc, sticky notes, maybe your inbox. And that split is where things start to break. I remember getting frustrated with this because I'd have issues for my actual development work, but then I would have completely separate lists for things like reviews or admin work or random ideas or even personal stuff. And I would miss things. Not because I didn't care, but because my system was split. So when I started building DevNitro, I wanted to fix that. Not just build a better coding agent, but build a system where everything I care about lives in one place. Work, personal, ideas, future tasks, and more importantly, something that actually works with agents, not around them. And what I realized along the way is this: issue tracking did not die, it just changed roles. So let's talk about what actually changed and why issues matter more now than they did before. The thing is, issue tracking didn't feel broken because of issues. It felt broken because of everything around those issues. Most tools were built for handoffs. A product manager writes something up, it sits in a queue, and then later an engineer picks it up. That gap is where all the process comes from: priorities, status updates, meetings. But when you're actually building, that doesn't feel like progress, it just feels like overhead. But honestly, that wasn't even my biggest frustration. The bigger problem was that my work was split across systems. I'd have issues in Jira or Linear tied to actual development work, but then everything else lived somewhere completely different. I had a OneNote list for tasks that didn't belong to a specific project. Things like submitting an expense report or doing a peer review, following up on something, even random ideas that I didn't want to lose. And because those systems weren't connected, I missed things. Not because I wasn't organized, but because I was forced to be organized in multiple places. And that's when it clicked for me. The problem was not issue tracking. The problem was that issue tracking was too narrow. It only handled part of my workflow, not all of it. So I had to build my own system around it just to function. But with DevNitro, I actually flipped that. Instead of issues being just for project work, they became the place for everything. Work projects, personal projects, random tasks, all in one system. With separation where it matters, but visibility where I need it. And that alone made things better. But then something else happened when I started using coding agents. Before coding agents, I never really used issue tracking for my own projects because it was just me. Everything either lived in my head or just had some OneNote to-dos. I knew what I was working on and what was next and what could wait, and that worked. But that completely breaks once you start using agents, because now it's not just you anymore. You're actually working with the team. It doesn't look like a traditional team. You've got multiple agents potentially working on different things, sometimes at the same time. And now you have new problems. What's already being worked on? What's done? What still needs attention? And most importantly, how do you make sure that two agents don't end up doing the same work? This is exactly why I built things like Issue Swarm, that's what I'm calling inside of DevNitro. The idea is that multiple agents can work across multiple issues, but they need awareness. They need to know when something is already claimed, when work is in progress, when something is ready. So issue tracking stops being about process and starts being about coordination, not for managers, but for agents. Even if you're the only human, you're not a solo developer anymore. You're leading a team. And without a shared system, that team falls apart fast. So once you realize you're effectively working with a team, the next question is, how do those agents actually understand what to do? And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They think agents replace structure, but they don't. They actually depend on structure. Now, to be clear, not everything has to be an issue. If I find a quick bug or have an idea that I can knock out right now, I'll just prompt it and get it done. No issue, no process. But if it's something I want to come back to, or something that needs a bit more thought, that's when I create an issue. And over time, my workflow started to look like this. I stop thinking in terms of prompts and I start thinking in terms of issues. Most of my prompts now are basically, let's work on issue 1476, because everything is already there in that issue, the context, the intent, the details. And if something's missing, I don't add that to the prompt, I just go back to the issue and add more context. And then, I kick it off for the agent. I even added a button inside of the issue where I can just click it and it instantly starts a new chat with the issue loaded in. I can add more context or just hit enter, and then the agent begins to work. And that's the shift. Issues aren't tickets anymore. They're shared context between you and the agents you're working with. So no, issue tracking is not dead. It just evolved from managing process to driving execution. And for me, this all started with frustration. Too many tools, too many places to track things, and too many things slipping through the cracks. So I built DevNitro to solve that for myself. One place for everything. A system that actually works with coding agents, not against them. But what I realized along the way is this. It isn't just my problem. This is where development is going. We're moving into a world where every developer has a team. Not just teammates, but agents working alongside them. And in that world, the way we organize work has to change. Not more processes, but better context. Systems that help humans and agents work together without getting in the way of each other. And that's why I'm building DevNitro. So if you're starting to feel that shift, or you want to get ahead of it, you can go to devnitro.com and join the beta list. And you can start building this way before everyone catches up. I'm Chad Carter, helping .NET teams ship production apps faster. You already know what you're doing, so now go and ship it. And hey, if this helped, you know the drill. Plus, you may want to go ahead and share this with a dev that you like. And I'll see you in the next video.